Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the Rutland series. Rutland is the smallest county in the East Midlands and has some 57 parishes to its name. Without further ado, let's get walking around one of them. Hello folks, welcome for the first time to the last county in the East Midlands that I've yet to touch. Welcome to Rutland, the smallest county in the East Midlands as well. Now I love this county, I've been here plenty of times before, but I don't really know most of its villages. I've been to certain villages and around. I've been to Oakham as well, the main town here, but I don't really know some of its sort of smaller places. So let's put this first one on the map, shall we? This one's famous for a prison and a bakery and a few other things as well. It's Stretton. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Welcome to Rutland for the first time. This is the smallest county of the East Midlands, but arguably features some of the most interesting villages in the entire region. This is the third time we've seen a Stretton on the channel. It's one of 17 Strettons in the country, and 15 of them sit on old Roman roads. This one is no exception because it stands on Ermine Street, a Roman road we've seen countless times before. You'll recall the word Stretton literally means street town, but can also be interpreted as a farm or a settlement on a Roman road. The principal landmark here is a large modern prison, HMP Stocken, which was built around Stocken Hall, which dates principally from the 17th and 18th centuries. The hall was the residence of Major Charles Fleetwood-Hesketh in the 1920s. He also owned the famous Ram Jam Inn, frequented by the highwayman Dick Turpin, which faces Stretton on the A1. Gino Washington and the Ram Jam Band took their name from that inn in the 1960s. And speaking of pubs, you won't find another with a story quite like that of the Jackson Stops in the main village. Stretton also has a Norman church which has had a couple of notable rectors, one of which was an author. Its rectory is now a special school for children with autism and learning difficulties. There's way more than meets the eye here in Stretton, so let's go. Our route around Stretton starts on Manor Road at the Manor House. Very little is known about this property, but the main house is built of limestone with mullioned windows under a collie western roof. It's one of a number of gorgeous, characterful properties around Stretton. In fact, pretty much everywhere you look, you'll see one. No wonder then that there was a neighbourhood watch scheme here. This sign tells us about the Rutland Countryside Watch, which was wound up in 2022. Where Manor Road turns a corner towards the centre of the village, you come to a shelter which has all manner of things in it. The parish notice board is one of them, so you can mark it off, folks. The shelter is also a bus stop. Stretton is served by the 183 and the 184 bus services, and here's the timetable for both. Around the corner now we have an old school, which was donated by Lord Aveland of Normanton. It closed in 1957 and Stretton's children now travel by bus to nearby schools. Right, well, there's plenty of landmarks in this little place. Opposite us here we've got the village pub, the Jackson Stops Inn. A very nice thatched roof pub as well. We'll talk a bit about that in a moment. And opposite this pub, there's also a Firmux, which has got a defib machine in it, and this gorgeous water pump. Does it work, Nikki?
No idea.
Well, do you want to pull the handle and see if it does?
Yeah, that ain't moving.
Oh, it's not moving. Okay, it's not one of these you can move the mechanism. Fair enough. Fair enough. It's still a beautiful little landmark though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right, the next place to go is the church, which is just along here somewhere. But of course we will talk about the pub first, and I might be able to find some information about this water pump, who knows. Originally called the White Horse, the pub was put up for sale in 1955 with an estate agent called Jackson Stops. It was for sale for so long that Stretton's residents asked for it to stay. How about that for a tale? As far as the pump goes opposite, it's a Grade 2 listed structure and it dates from 1830. There's more water features coming later, but for now we're off up Church Lane. Stretton is fortunate to have an ancient Norman church dating from 1086. This is the Church of St Nicholas. It has a fascinating history, with one 17th century rector, Jeremiah Whitaker, regularly preaching before Parliament during the Civil War. In 1881, the building was restored by the efforts of another famous rector, the Reverend Edward Bradley, who wrote popular novels under the pseudonym Cuthbert Bede. The associated rectory is now a special school on the Great North Road, called the Shires. It was previously a hotel, and there's still a public footpath from it to the church. Nicky is determined to say hello to this horse. He's slowly making his way over, but he seems to stop every now and again to chew a bit of grass. He looks thoroughly uninterested, I've got to tell you, Nicky.
Well...
At least you tried.
Yeah.
But he's nice, isn't he?
Well, we think he's a he.
Yeah, okay. Could be, I suppose, but, you know, let's not misgender the horses. We have enough of that otherwise, don't we? This next part of the walk takes us up Clipsham Road towards the A1. There isn't a great deal to tell you about this area, but these flowers were nice. After a few steps along this road, you'll see a sign for a prison. We'll get to that later. Now, earlier I promised you some more water features. Well, how about a well? This is a very unusual well, which was operated by a wheel. For safety reasons, this was encased by stone and the wheel no longer turns. Clipsham Road then opens out into a small wooded area as we approach Stretton interchange and the A1, which is the parish boundary. It's worth mentioning another pub at this point, the Ram Jam Inn, which faces Stretton on the western side of the A1. If you've ever heard of American soul singer Geno Washington, his band were called the Ram Jam Band, and they were named after the pub. The group used it when they were travelling north overnight. The adjacent petrol station on the A1 is also known as Ram Jam Services. Okay, so now we're on Rookery Lane and this will complete the circuit of the village. What this road does is it comes out at the bus shelter that we saw earlier, just up where that white car is. If I just sort of take a left turn, that is the complete circuit of Stretton. And you know, we're not missing much on this road, to be honest with you. As you can see, it's a couple of farms, yeah, a few horse paddocks, yeah, nothing much more than that. But yeah, what a lovely little place and a good way to start off Rutland. If they're all like this, I'm going to enjoy doing Rutland immensely. Yep. Now, we are not quite finished with this because there are two more things I need to talk about. The first thing is the bakery that I mentioned at the very beginning of this video, and that's coming your way in a special section in a moment. And after that, we're going to head up to the prison, which is HMP Stocken, and we'll drive up to that and see what that's all about. To understand the bakery, we first have to learn a little bit more about the Ram Jam Inn. This is what the pub looked like a few years ago. It originally opened as a coaching inn called the Winchelsea Arms. It was famously frequented by highwayman Dick Turpin in the 18th century, and it was supposedly one of his confidence tricks that led to the name. The pub is fascinating for many, many more reasons, and now it has another to add to that list. Hambleton Bakery, who are currently based on the Exton estate, elsewhere in Rutland, were given the green light last year to build a brand new site at the Ram Jam Inn. It's one of a number of improvements to the area, which will see a brand new all-day restaurant, owned by loungers, be built at the services. None of this, of course, is in Stretton, technically speaking, as the A1 is the parish boundary, but it makes no sense to cover this in Greetham's episode, because Greetham is quite a way away, and this is all very close to Stretton. HMP Stocken already has its very own Tales from the Village Green episode, so I won't go into too much detail here. It was opened in 1985 as a Category C men's prison. It's named, of course, after Stocken Hall, the country house built on the outskirts of Stretton by John Brown during the reign of King James I. The prison was built around the hall. The hall became derelict after being requisitioned during the war, although now it's been fully restored. HMP Stocken can hold just over 1,000 prisoners at full capacity. Just to the south of the prison, there's some more housing off Stocken Hall Road, an area known to the locals as Stretton Wood. This is a collection of small cul-de-sacs which was originally accommodation for the workers at the prison. These days, though, some of these homes are now owned privately. Initially, there was also a club building here, but that's since changed its use and is currently a training facility for HMP Stocken. And of course, if you need to visit the prison, you can do by public transport. There is a bus stop down here, and it's the same bus as we saw before. We've got the 184 and the 183, and these are the places that it will get you to. There we go, you see? So yeah, you can get to the prison via public transport as well. And that is it. That's it for the first parish here in Rutland. Quite a few more to go, 50 odd in fact, but if they're all like this, they're all going to be great. I know there are some fantastic places here in Rutland, and you guys will love what I have in store for you as this series moves on. One of my favourite places in Rutland is Normanton Church, which is right on Rutland Water. Don't know when that episode's going to come because this one was a one-off, but in the near future, hopefully, I will be down to Rutland again, and I will continue my way through this gorgeous county of England. And that's it. I've touched all 6 counties now in the East Midlands. So let's get on and finish them, shall we? I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot. This has been the parish of Stretton, and I'm out.